Greetings, I'm Solidus-Skully, and welcome back to Doom 3 The Lost Mission.
Security lockdown is in effect.
Well...
Sub-level access is restricted.
Yeah, what she said. And we are also entering what I consider to be by far one of the most tedious and, say, probably the worst part of the Lost Mission entirely. Again, we're basically going through familiar territory. This is Mars City Underground, the sub-levels. We've seen level design that's very familiar to this before, and again, I suppose if there is any criticism Doom 3 has to its name, it's a surprising lack of color and a very samey environment design. Now, I wouldn't say this is necessarily too bad in my eyes, because I think the game does enough to differentiate, you know, environment from environment, so things don't feel too familiar, but this to me feels, well, very heavily like DLC, even though it's more expansion pack kind of thing. It's not fun. But I mean, I will say though that, like, I mean, it's not terrible, but it's something that I think is slightly more intriguing to play than it is to watch. And unfortunately, it's just gonna be a bit of a runaround, so, punch. Yeah, so we're gonna be having a surprising lack of things to say, so, I guess for lack of a better phrase, let's just continue talking about the Doom timeline. Again, this does also contain spoilers for Doom Eternal, so if you haven't played it, I apologize in advance, but yeah, according to Doom Eternal, Doom 1, 2, 64, Doom 2016, and Doom Eternal are all in one timeline, taking place as more or less sequels to each other. Now, that probably does also bring to mind, and I'm trying to... No, I wouldn't have brought it up in Resurrection of Evil. And that does also kind of bring a point of contention to Doom 3 as to where it is in the timeline. If it even is, or if it's just something off to the side that's completely disregarded. I've seen a lot of people actually use the excuse that it's an alternate reality, or like a reimagining or some kind of thing like that, but... And again, like, I mean, I haven't really done a lot of research into this myself, so this could be just something I'm pulling out of my old sweet spot, but... I kind of like to think that Doom 3 takes place at, like, the beginning of the timeline, like... You know, you start off with Doom Guy in the space, you know, the horror theme reflecting, you know, trying to fight off stuff that you've never seen before, Doom 1 having a bit more experience and being more gung-ho in like an 80s action movie kind of way, and then, you know, Doom 2, 64 being a hardened badass, and, you know, Doom 2016 with a whole Doomslayer legacy kind of thing. I don't know, I think there's enough wiggle room to work it in if id Software wants to, but I think they're probably just going to keep Doom 3 as like this own thing off to its side, since even though the game did successfully upon release, I think most of the fans usually tend to forget it either exists or just have kind of an attitude of it of like, it's good but it should have been named something else, which is, a mindset I'm a bit iffy on, but... Yeah, in any case though, I guess to also, highlight part of my reasons for disliking this level, other than talking about the timeline kind of thing, well, apart from the whole grabber thing, in terms of catching projectiles and throwing them at the enemy, I mean, this was really just my attempt to try and make it seem useful, which I mean it can be, because, you know, you can use the grabber to pick up barrels, throw them at the enemy, and, you know, have them explode, which is useful. But I mean, I suppose, and again, as you're probably going to be seeing right here as I try and catch them, yeah, I think you need to get your reticle either exactly onto it, or, I don't know, I don't really know. It's just very precise, and, it makes it, like, I mean, using it is worth it because you can take out the imps in one fell swoop. Not so much for the Hell Knights, though. I recall trying to do that in a later part, and that didn't exactly pan out too well. But as I was saying, there's something just somewhat imprecise about the whole thing, and, like, I mean, I like the idea, but and again, as I was saying in the previous part, I think what you have to do is you have to try and, like, focus it for a little while, because, like, I mean, if you grab it, then launch it again, it kind of goes in a bit of an arc, so I think maybe you just have to hold it down for a few seconds, aim it at the imp, and then you'll get a more precise target. I don't know. Like, I mean, the grabber's main purpose is to use energy, and you can hold that for as long as you really need to, rather than items which, you know, have a limited holding frame, I guess, because that's what the grabber wasn't really designed for, but I don't know, interesting weapon. One that I recall mentioning previously was actually used in, I think, Half-Life, which predated it, Half-Life 2 specifically. I suppose to go slightly off topic, I kind of played the... Kind of? What the fuck are you saying, mate? I played the original Half-Life not too long ago. That game has significantly aged. I mean, I recall that it did get a remake, either recently or within the last year or so. But, good lord, in terms of design and, in terms of a lot of things, really, yeah, Half-Life has, shown its crow's feet. It doesn't make the game bad, mind you. Because, I mean, I do think there is a lot to the original Half-Life that there is to be enjoyed. Especially for its time, because there weren't really that many games doing what Half-Life did in that era, but... Whew. You know, when people talk about video games aging, that's not what I tend to see very often. And then again, mainly because I don't really tend to go throughout those circles. And speaking of circles, take a look at what sort of enemy we're going to be facing again. Don't really know why I said that, but whatever. Also, never really understood the purpose behind these computers where you can, like, save the backup data. I think it's just something you can interact with for the fuck of it, but I don't know, it's just kind of strange that they just allow you to interact with these things. And what is this? Oh no, the elevator. It is getting spiders. And, yeah, I believe you can also, at least I think you can, I believe you can use the grabber and, basically just use that to get rid of them. Don't know why I didn't think about it here. I guess maybe I was thinking that, the grabber could only really work with the cherubs, which you can similarly pick up, throw, and, the enemy dies in one hit. I don't know, I guess maybe just slipped my mind at the time. Because, I mean, like, and I guess maybe this might be the main game also going to speak my language, because I only, for the sake of practice and also getting used to the, control scheme, I actually did play the Doom 3 main storyline, you know, because it's been a while since I last played it, and because, you know, it's just something I wanted to do. But, again, because you don't get the grabber in the main story, I didn't really think to use it all that much, and, I think that might have been part of what sparked my whole thing of trying to get as much use out of all the weapons that I have at my disposal. Again, like, I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't, as you can see with the multiple attempts to use the grabber in situations where it wasn't really working that well. But alas. And again, this is, like, I mean, and I think what you might be seeing later on in the playthrough is that I will use some of these weapons, but later on, especially as the demons get a little bit more powerful, you don't really tend to... Well, okay. You don't really tend to get as much use out of them as you think because of, well, the nature of video games and scaling power levels. And, yeah, as I was talking about with, Panic Button's adaptation in terms of, effects and all that kind of stuff, as you can see with the blood there. Now, again, I don't know in the original release if it was as accurate as that, but... Yeah, I think Panic Button might have screwed the pooch in a few aspects, and, well, again, I don't seem to recall having this in the previous editions of the BFG edition that I played, so, I mean, again, I want to reiterate, though, I don't want to think that the Panic Button adaptation of Doom 3 is terrible, at least, in terms of, like, you know, gameplay and the overall experience. I just think that there are a few aspects where they could have put a little bit more effort into the port, or, you know, maybe it might have been the the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One's architecture. Again, I haven't seen a port comparison here, but I don't know, part of me just wonders if maybe that might have had something to do with it, because, I mean, I think specific engines and certain games just don't really tend to adapt as well. Again, like, I think there was a screenshot comparison of, like, the HD editions of Assassin's Creed 2 on its original hardware compared to the ports of it, which tended to make the visuals a little bit more fucky, for the lack of a better phrase. I don't know. It's a fickle and tenuous mistress. There we go. We use the zombie buster, aka the pistol. I mean, I do mean what I say. I do want to show off all these weapons and give them specific use. And I guess also partial tactical advice, because, like, I mean, I do think the pistol is best used. Because, I mean, generally speaking, like, I mean, while you don't get tons of ammo, you do usually have enough for any given situation. And again, I think, in terms of playing the game efficiently, it's usually best to use those weapons specifically for it. Because, I mean, by the time you, I'd say, get into the later parts of the game, like, I mean, if you don't use your pistol all that much, you're gonna have tons of ammo for the fucking thing, and if you're running out of ammo for some of your better weapons and, you know, you need to use that for a Mancubus or something, you're gonna be completely out of luck. And again, like, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say that Doom 3 is the most tactical game of all time, but, you know, it's a game that I do think you are kind of rewarded for kind of playing it. Again, it might sound a bit pretentious to say this, but like in the way that it was intended as like a, you know, a creep and crawl survival horror kind of thing, which, again, I know is kind of the anti-mindset of most Doom fans, but I think for Doom 3 specifically, it makes sense, and, well, again, you're still killing demons, you're still creeping around an infested place, so, I guess the best thing I can say here is that they do the same things differently. And oh boy, how familiar does this feel? Going throughout Mars City. Again, like, I mean, I might have a surprising lack of things to say about the level itself, but I mean, it's just so... I guess the best thing to say about it is that it's unremarkable. Because, I mean... And again, something that I think a lot of expansion packs do run into is that they don't tend to have as much... Well, and I'm going to use this as a general rule of thumb, they don't seem to have as much original content packed in as the primary game, which makes sense, obviously, but... Sometimes it just feels incredibly padded out, and I think this is probably the worst example of it in the Lost mission. I don't know. Yeah, and also another thing to really note is that you don't really have as much of a... Well, you don't really have as much of a connection between Richard Myers and the Marine as you did with, you know, Elizabeth McNeil or the Doom Marine who was helping her, and neither do you really have it with anybody else, because I mean, Doom Guy in the main story usually had like Sergeant Kelly or, you know, Elliot Swan to sort of talk with. And I mean, like, you do spend most of the game alone, obviously, but at the same time, like, it's not as lonesome and you fighting against Yoz as it is here, I'd say. I don't know, I mean, like, I guess having people just jump up on your radio frequency would kind of ruin the atmosphere, but... I don't know, it's kind of something to really think about, because, I mean, Doom 2016 had Samuel Hayden as more or less your communication kind of partner, and Doom Eternal, it was sort of a similar thing, except with more Vega than anyone else. I don't know, it's just interesting how these games handled it, and I have no idea why. I don't know why, like, I just find it so addictive to punch things in this game. And, like, you don't even have the Berserk pack, it's just weird quirks. I actually noticed I did something similar in Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, actually, when I was recording for Riku's scenario, which you're going to be seeing later this year. Well, towards the end of this year. Wow, 2020 has gone by surprisingly fast, and that might just be indicative of the amount of crazy shit that's enveloped the world at this point in time. Or possibly the fact that, well, terrible things happen and we all hope to end it all. And what you're going to be seeing here is, well, foolish playing skills. Again, I'm going to reiterate, I'm not the best Doom player around, but I am familiar enough with the game to know exactly what I need to do and where I need to go. Relatively speaking. Yeah, take that. Take my anger out on things. Also, I completely don't figure out what the hell I was meant to be doing around here at this point, so please ignore the following skip around where I reload and, I don't know, just show off those animations that everybody put their heart and soul into when developing the game. The Sentry bots. I'm sure nothing terrible will ever happen to any of them. I believe I might have mentioned this in the main storyline as well, but again, I might as well reiterate one of my earlier experiences with the game. When I first played Doom 3, like, I mean, I just assumed that I guess maybe because I was kind of keeping pace with the thing, and, you know, killing demons along with it, but I never thought these Sentry bots could actually die, because, you know, it would have had to have led you through the facility and unlock doors and all that kind of stuff. But as you're going to be seeing here, and as you'll also be, and as I learned in my first playthrough, they can very well die, and, well, that's, kind of saddening, really. In fact, I think the, first, again, unless, of course, I'm not remembering right, I think the first place I learned it was actually, I think it was in Resurrection of Evil, like, during the tunnel sequence, like, where you're going through that radioactive waste facility, or possibly a tunnel before that, and, yeah. Bit of a shock to the system, because I love these little guys. They're so cute and adorable, and they shoots the demons. They have little choips like that RTD-tie creature. I don't know whatever the fuck I'm going with this anymore. Jesus Christ, I thought that was an archfire for a second, because of the lighting. But no, it is but an imp. And I suppose, I may have brought this up before as well, but like, I mean, I think a lot of this is also an exercise in just how... Like, I mean, I don't know, like, I mean, these segments have always been kind of bizarre to me, because, like, I mean, having, like, a buddy there to help you out during combat, I mean, I suppose a lot of this was mainly just to sort of, I guess maybe build up the atmosphere, and, you know, just sort of show demons kind of appearing every which way in Sunday, which I guess adds to the repetition to a certain extent. But, like, I mean, at the same time, it's, nothing that really changes the gameplay dynamic up to any significant degree, it's just something that kind of is, really. Like, I mean, I'm not really sure what these sort of sections add or subtract to the overall experience, because, I mean, aside from having a cute little robot just kind of follow you around and do all this kind of stuff, it's not really, like, adding or subtracting to the horror or atmosphere anyway, so, I mean, I suppose possibly it was maybe to, I mean, besides opening a few doors here and there, I suppose maybe it was just there to test your propensity to care about your little buddy, assuming you don't decide to go off the beaten path and have a little bit of punching action, but now we are gonna have to say goodbye to our dear little buddy, and also deal with the annoyance that is the commando troops. I'm not prepared for this. Well, that was pointless. Anyway, so onwards to more killing, and you don't really need that sentry bot as it happens. Well, I mean, you kind of do, because these... Again, I don't know if I'm going to say it enough, but I mean, I just absolutely... Like, the commando enemies just... I think I said it in the original run, but they feel more like enemies out of Wolfenstein more than they do Doom, and I don't know, they just seem... Well, I mean, for one thing, it's also the amount of damage they do for something that just feels so terrestrial. Like, I mean, in a lot of other games I wouldn't really mind this, unless, of course, that game's name happens to be Resident Evil 4, and yes, you know what segment of the game I'm talking about. But I mean, like, I don't know, just having commandos run up, shoot guns, even though they're meant to be demonic creatures, kind of rubs me the wrong way from like a horror aesthetic kind of standpoint, but at the same time, though, it's like also, it puts you on edge, if only because of the fact that they can drain your health so fast, and I don't know. It just doesn't seem to have the same sort of impact as the tentacle commandos have, you know, when they're just charging up towards you and they have that, like, low rasping voice. I don't know, I mean, I probably would have swapped them out in terms of enemies for maybe, like, the Arachnotrons, which were initially planned for Doom 3 but were cut for some reason. I believe also the Spider Mastermind was also planned at one point. Again, kind of reiterating commentary. Excuse me. Kind of reiterating commentary here, but I mean, like, judging by the concept art, and I believe also some, it was either a model or it was like, some leftover animations. It would have been really interesting to see what they would have been like in the final game. And, again, also, doing a bit of research into this, also found, like, an unused, monster, model, and, you know, completely textured. I believe it's actually still in the game's files as well, but, like, I believe it was, like, meant to be an early model for the Pinky Demon, I think? I can't quite remember if it has a name, but, again, it was like this really meaty-looking, beast, so it would have been interesting to see if it would have either been a fill-in for one of the monsters in-game, or possibly something new entirely. Nobody knows but us, and, well, I mean, it would have been cool to see, is all I'm saying. Ammunition. Now, this is how you don't go about this segment, because sweet, crispy Jesus, flame-grilled to absolute perfection. Go back, basically just hang around the beginning, don't move forward because all the enemies will spawn, as I believe they're scripted to in the game, and you are going to be beautificked. Yes, absolutely beautificked, and I don't recommend this. You got Hell Knights, you got Archviles, you got absolutely everything, and I died. I believe this might be my one death in the run, hence why I'm leaving it in. Well, as far as you know anyway, I could have died multiple times, and you'll never know! Maybe I could have died some more, and hopefully die in real life. Except no, because that would be sad. Yeah, but on a serious note, the strategy I used the second time around, and again, cutting around this because really it's just more monster ambushes. Again, hang back, destroy the initial couple of monsters, which is just a few Caco demons and whatever. Then move forward, deal with the Archvile, then the Hell Knight, and you should be okay. Kinda wish I learned that throughout some of my previous playthroughs, but I mean, man, this room really is a pain in the arse, and that isn't the only wave of enemies that spawn in this room. I don't really know what it is, it's just the fact that they can really kind of like sideswipe you every which way and sideways. And again, if your Sentry drone didn't die on you before, it's certainly gonna die on you now. Oy. But again, I'm sure nothing bad will happen to us if we see all the blood. Take this! Seriously, I have no idea what the hell my obsession is with this. I just like to punch things. Or maybe I just have the, like that early 90s Doom comic on the brain where Doom Guy was like this crazy dude who, like, had a lust for violence and uttered the immortal line of, "Now I'm radioactive, that can't be good." Oh well, I believe this is the room, and if it isn't, I shall be very sad. It is not. I know there is a room up here, and I can, might as well just fucking spoil it now, really. Like, it's just, around here, like, where you could, I guess you get, like, one of the few moments of, supernatural horror in this. Because, I mean, as I pointed out in the, you know, the main storyline, and even a little bit of Resurrection of Evil, like, there was usually these moments where they put the player on edge by having the environment around them completely shift around and psych them out. Like that right here, actually. You heard the call. Now, feel her wrath, or pain. You see the environment shifting around, you can hear her scream in pain. I really like it when the game does this, like, I mean... And this might be because we no longer live in a day and age of games like, you know, Fear or whatever, but... I don't know, like, I mean, I just really loved it when games did this, and not in the sort of, like, hallway corridor, you know, PT sort of, like, oh, just stand there and watch yourself die. Like, I mean, have the player just slowly wander through and the environment around them shift while they're completely in control. That's... Again, like, I think the degree of control here is really what I'm stressing, especially since... Again, it's been a while since I really checked into the indie gaming scene, but, like, I mean, the thing that sort of defined, like, a lot of AAA releases compared to some of the stuff where it's basically just more walk around in a forest and watch people die from scary monster thing. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it was something that I seem to recall having a problem with back in those days, and, I guess still even now, to be honest, because, like, I mean, it's shifty. That's all I'm gonna say. And I guess something I could probably also talk about for the sake of, having things to talk about, really, in terms of Doom 3's art design, because, like, I mean, in the original game, and I'm talking specifically about the flashlight here, you didn't have the whole, press a specific button to toggle the flashlight, no, you had to switch between that and your weapons, so you could choose, more visibility for, you know, using your guns. And, like, you might think that would have made the game impossible to play, but, again, one of the things that Doom 3 did, which was really cool to its design, was that enemies usually had, like, specific elements glowing about them. The environment itself usually had, you know, ambient reflections of lighting, like against the boilers that you saw over there, or the lights that flicker. Again, you knew where the enemies were, like the imps, like when they were about to attack you, you could see them clear as day because of their plasma balls. And again, like, I mean, I think that's, again, I think maybe to gamers of a more common disposition, it would have been seen as a bit, you know, unwieldy. But again, I think in terms of telling them where to hit, or, like, putting the player on their toes and, you know, making it a very, like, fight or flight kind of thing, it's interesting, and I can't help but enjoy it, man. Again, I don't know if I've said enough to say it before, but, like, I mean, I really love the design of the Caco demons in this game. Probably not quite as iconic as the traditional one, you know, with the singular eye, but I don't know, I just really like it, and, again, I might have said this in the previous run, or, like, it might have been some, like, fan theory that I've just sort of adopted as my headcanon, but, like, you notice how it has, like, a lot of those limbs? Like, you know, the sort of limbs that were there because gradually over time the Caco demons were capable of flight and I guess lost a lot of muscle mass, and as such they became very weak and limp. Yeah, I don't know, just a little something I think adds to the, I guess, the mythology, or whatever. Whatevers, and this is also the second ambush, which I don't think really needed to be there. And what better way to cap off a monsterologist fight than attempting to use the grabber gun with increasingly failing results. Like, I mean, I will stress that the grabber does have its use if you know how to position yourself correctly, but... oh man, the game is just, it's a bit of a topsy-turvy, whoopsie-worthy kind of thing. Another... fucking archvile. But again... nice. But again, an interesting thing to say about the archvile itself is, like, I mean, if you continue to kill monsters, it'll summon more, obviously. And again, the best way to kind of pick it off is to make sure that you're either not in its direct line of sight or at a vantage point. Because, like, I mean, if you're in its direct line of sight, it will use its flame pillar, which is a very big ouchie, and you don't want that. But again, like, I mean, provided you don't get into its line of sight, you should be okay. I mean, it is a bit of a bullet sponge, but you can take care of it. And I suppose unlike the commandos, which I'd argue are slightly more annoying, if only for the fact that they have mobility on their side. Yeah. It's just a pain in the buttocks. Oh yeah, that's why I don't have any pistol ammo, so that's why I used the weaker rapid-fire gun. You know what, I do again, this might have just been a factor at the time, but I do kind of wish they... and again, mods do fix this, obviously, but... I really kind of wish id Software used, like, what they had of Trent Reznor's sound design, as seen in the 2002 E3 trailer. At least I think it was E3, it might have been, something that they were showcasing, but anyway... Kinda wish they used it, because, like, the sound design for that demo, for any who've seen it, is punchy as fuck. It is just a tasty morsel of sound design. And now we move on to the, next portion, which is about the end of the repetition. Well, after this point anyway, because, you know, we're finally progressing with shit. And we are seeing stuff that's familiar, but also slightly different, because this is before most of the base got majorly fucked over by Bertruger and a lot of the roots that were growing throughout Hell, so... we are seeing a much cleaner version of the labs here, so... you know... it's good to see it, but I mean, at the same time, it's also stuff that we've seen before, slightly. So, nothing much really to be gained. And to give my voice a bit of a rest, we do also have a PDA with a guy who I swear to God has the sexiest fucking voice I have ever heard. Like, it kind of reminds me of fucking Fernando Martinez from GTA 3, and... oh boy, you're gonna love his voice, ladies.
Welcome to the Exis Labs.
Oh, welcome. Strange heavenly voice. By the way, to my knowledge, there is no way to get through that door. I don't think you can, and I don't think there's anything behind it, so, kinda weird why they programmed, like, a thing there. I mean, maybe you could possibly access it? How strange. But again, I mean, as seen before, you can also climb upon those pieces of scaffolding, finding all sorts of stuff, talk about our day, go to the movies. It's gonna be fun on the bun, really. And of course, who would we be without the Pinky Demon? And I gotta say, like, I honest to God prefer the Doom 3 variant compared to the traditional one. I don't know about it, like, it just seems very... it just seems cool, and, kind of a shame they never really brought it back for any future games. I mean, again, I guess the traditional one is kind of iconic, but... I don't know, Doom 3 is cool. A blue.
This is Nasser Adil, Security Chief for the Exis Labs facility. Log entry November 3, 2145. We are seeing an increasing level of random and unexplained violence by Exis staff. The first incident occurred on October 13th, 2145 at the Exis surface tunnel. One of the construction workers, Bill Sanders, was offloading a shipment of steel supports when the procurement manager stopped him. In the heated conversation that followed, Sanders grabbed a nearby pickaxe and lunged at the manager. Luckily, the argument beforehand generated a sizable crowd. When Sanders attacked the manager, a number of men were able to subdue him. When we questioned Sanders afterwards, he seemed to have developed short-term amnesia. He he didn't remember why he got so upset and attacked the manager. He only recalls stopping his loader and then moments later waking in the holding cell. Since that event, we have seen arguments progress more and more from heated shouting matches straight into outright brawls. The antagonists in these incidents all display the same conditions, as if they were suddenly possessed by violent anger, and then afterwards return to normal. We have only one serious life-threatening case so far, where engineer Leon Powell was stabbed multiple times. I fear this is not the worst of our troubles, and have requested additional security personnel posted at critical junctions. To assist any immediate medical need, I have resupplied storage cabinet 965 with the accompanying code of 428. Sergeant Nasir Adil, out. Nasir Adil, personal log dated November 12th, 2145. I have just received word from Central Authority that the UAC representative, Counselor Elliot Swan, will be arriving in a few days from Earth. The report states he will be reviewing all sectors of Mars City, including Exis Labs. I'm not sure that's a good idea in light of the recent events we've had here. The violent assaults that seem to plague Exis Labs have caused the civilian staff to be pretty wary of one another. And now, to top it all off, missing weapons. The cabinets in the security checkpoints were fully stocked 2 days ago, and now half the weapons are gone. I don't know how this situation occurred, but my Marines swear no one has access to the cabinets except for them. I've ruled out those assigned to me and other security personnel, but I can't figure out who else has those codes. To sum up, this is a bad situation, turning worse every day. My recent request for more manpower in Exis Labs was denied. It seems other sectors of Mars City are stretched thin, and the small reserves at the base are already allocated. I need to have faith in my current detachment of Marines that they will turn things around. I'll talk to Central again and see if Counselor Swan can bypass Exis. The last thing I want is some staff worker with a sudden episode of dementia murdering a VIP.
Again, I've kind of got to I've kind of got to cut Nasir Adil off with its secrecy voice. But again, I think I can't get enough of a Doom 3 again, and I know people probably are kind of skipping over the PDA announcements and all that kind of stuff, but again, like, I mean, I just really love the way in which the game develops its world and setting just through, you know, the way, like, just through this growing resentment and anger and just the general frustrations that you would have with a working environment. Like, I mean, this game just does so well at that, even just through, you know, belated audio recordings of people who have already become zombies or are just grist for the mill, really, and it's so... Again, like, this game's atmosphere is amazing, and, like, you don't really seem to get a lot of this with... Well, I mean, I'll say the later games, and again, it makes sense that they wouldn't do this, because, again, they're of a more action-oriented tone, but... Like, the fact that this setting just feels very lived in is just... Again, it makes for, like, a lot of great character drama, really. And again, you're going to be seeing that later on, as well as we start to see more of, well, I guess the daily goings-on for the UAC. I don't know, like... this just gets me excited, dude. But in any case, onwards to new adventure. And I believe we will be coming across a very familiar face, which I can't quite remember the name of. In terms of the enemy name, it's not going to be right here, but a little bit later, right before... It's either going to be right before or a little bit after. Or I might be thinking of another part entirely, with my brain jumping ahead. Is this the right spot, or am I thinking of something different? But alas, we cannot enter. Oh no. Yeah, I am thinking of something different. Disregard my prior points. Because, basically, this is just getting rid of the soldiers and finally meeting up with Dr. Richard Myers in the Exis Labs. Kind of, well, I guess it kind of makes sense, but, like, is also kind of a bit lazy in the sense that they're reusing, like, the opening to the Delta Labs complex for Exis, which, I mean, I guess it makes sense that they have similar checkpoints, lobbies, and, you know, screenings and all that kind of stuff, but, just, well, I guess we could just call it a convenient excuse and call it a day. What is this? It is a maggot. By the way, well, I wouldn't say the maggots are really the toughest enemies to defeat, again, as you've probably seen with my very shoddy playing skills. Yeah, don't let your guard down around them, because they can be a pain in the buttocks. And unfortunately, we have no scary Ulmer Wade-esque shenanigans to go on with this camera scene, but we do get to see a certain annoying enemy crawl through these halls. With this one, I believe. Unless I am mistaken. There we go. Seeing that camera right there? Not good things, not good. And of course, this one is blank, so, we better stock up on supplies. Get whatever the hell we need. And... oh wait, now I remember, that's why I edited around this, because I am a silly Billy. So, now we just have to prepare for the inevitable future where we die by Commando Soldier. Anyway, on that note, I'm Solidus-Skully, keep it new metal, and, well, enjoy this cutscene with Dr. Richard Myers and the Marine finally meeting. Catch you dudes on the flip side. See you later.
Oh, thank God. You made it here. I didn't know if you could with all those things out there. Look, we don't have much time. These creatures are spreading throughout the base, and if we don't act quickly, all could be lost. I understand you have a lot of questions, but I can't answer them right now. All I can say is, we need to get the teleporter in the next chamber working. But to do that, I need you to find a plasma inducer for the stabilizer bank. There's one in engineering. Now, if you head through the service tunnel, you can reach it. I'll unlock some doors. There. That will give you the necessary clearance. Now, please, get the inducer and hurry back. We don't have a lot of time. Please hurry.